Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of the Gauntlet, I want to talk about the players involved in every game, regardless of matchup, the bases. Bases have a tremendous impact on Smash Up, and it really adds to the replayability. But in March Smashness, where the stakes are high, if a base has an extreme impact, it can be either jarring or rewarding, depending on your expectations. For some teams, I talked about their base support if I liked the overall collection of bases that would benefit them, but for some sets, there are individual bases that will provide an extreme impact, either positive or negative. So given that the base rule is well defined and players can anticipate the matchups in every base, I want to talk about the base that I think will have the most impact for an individual set. My criteria for this is a bit hard to explain, but I'm focusing on the partner faction who is not represented in the set. For example, for the awesome level 9000 bases, how do the sumo wrestlers, truckers, rockstars, and incas benefit? Because they aren't the ones who would normally see those bases. The awesome level 9000 factions would always see those bases by virtue of being in the set. So who is getting the best neutral assist, or which factions are going to be hurt the most, and by which bases? That's what I want to talk about today. The core set is particularly difficult because there are twice the number of bases, which make it difficult to predict that the individual base will come out. It also weights the core set, which means that partners are less likely to see their bases. There's also a lot of candidates, as Rhodes Plaza Mall and Factory can have a dominant, determinant effect on scoring. But for the specific factions partnered with the core, I think the homeworld stands out. For Giant Ants, this helps them bring out counters that they need to create the infinite first mate. Miskatonic Wizards can break this base in a single turn with all their extra plays, and it makes the Miskatonic Global 2 power very potent because you don't have to play on the homeworld base. For the Star Roamers, it can combine with the Science Officer for crazy levels of Invader VP farming, where it's easy to get 2 per turn. The homeworld is so easily stolen by Mega Troopers because playing a minion can trigger additional minions that can power up Megabot. The Dragons can hard counter homeworld well by dropping multiple hatchlings, which makes it pretty impossible for someone to drop the homeworld in one quick drop, and can draw a ton of cards with Imperial Dragon. And multiple Bayakis in the same turn means guaranteed madness loss, and it gets them into the discard pile where the Zombie Lord wants them. So while there are many bases that will have a massive impact, I think the homeworld is the one that will break quickly and spectacularly. For awesome level 9000, it has to be Workshop. Truckers and Incas are getting this base, which allows them to go nuts. But the Rockstars also like it because it's a way to play more cards and lower your hand. Even if you play Turn It Up to 21, that's really only one extra breakpoint, and it becomes a free card. This one was obvious, and you have to be prepared that, against Truckers or Incas, Workshop that appears at the end of your Phase 3 could be gone before your next Phase 1. For Cthulhu, we have Kaiju, Anansi, Zombies, and Wizards. This was obvious because it was the inspiration for this video. Antarctic base. I can't explain how, but this base seemingly always shows up when I play Kaiju Innsmouth. It is a very good Kaiju base because their actions completely avoid the base's condition, and its relatively high breakpoint means you can be efficient. It's also great to get for free with Kaiju Alliance while doing other things. Last year against Robotic Nobles, I came within 1 power of breaking 2 5-point bases in a turn, one of which was solo, and would have been a 10-3 spread. But the ability still benefited me in the long run. It shuts down wizards tremendously, and their below average power minions are easy to destroy. Anansi loves it because it means it can focus on VP farming the Cthulhu cards and giving madness. It also hurts zombies because they get a benefit from playing on bases where they have no minions, and then they have to stop that for the rest of the turn. Antarctic base was an easy choice. For science fiction double feature, it has to be the Vats. The Musketeers, Vigilantes, and Penguins are all factions with heavy focuses on unique minions, which means that they can bypass the base's restriction, and it has a low breakpoint, so it's easy to win. But it deceptively helps the Vikings, because you can use other players' minions to block them. If I steal your minion, and I play it there, it means you cannot play your other copies, but I haven't used up any of my minion names. It would be really entertaining to have this happen. For the monster set, which features kittens, pirates, robots, and changer bots, this was hard. Many of the bases care about power counters, and none of these factions use them. Standing Stones will only impact Kittens and Changer Bots, but it impacts them in a major way, so that is likely the best pick. Standing Stones will give you an extra action or an extra control, and that extra action can be brutal for Mad Scientist Kittens. For Changer Bots, it's a free 2 to 3 power depending on which talent you activate, because the touch gives the minion the talent, which allows it to work with Standing Stones. For Pretty, we have superheroes, sharks, sheep, and mad scientists. There are a lot of good candidates for this pick, but Ice Castle has some polarizing results. It can shut down the superheroes if your mild-mannered citizen gets moved there, and the burst can never be used to move there because no one can play a minion there. For sharks, it's great because it narrows the field and makes it easier to eat opposing minions. By taking a base off the board, it also forces player to put more resources into the other 2 bases, which makes fairy sharks more efficient, which is great for them. They also have movement to potentially get on later if they have sufficient power. For sheep, they obviously have a ton of movement, and they have the means to score it solo. They can also use it as a relatively safe staging area. For mad scientists, because they can sneak on there with the kitten movement, they have a chance to have an uninterrupted Uber Serum minion. However, if they cannot, it means the clock is sped up for a faction that wants to grow over time, and this could end up hurting them. So if Ice Castle comes up, both teams will have to think carefully about how much it impacts them. For It's Your Fault, we have princesses, fairies, grannies, mounties, and tricksters, and there wasn't really an obvious candidate. Crystal Fortress can give you a high-powered minion back, which the grannies can draw, but most of the other factions lack the card draw to get to it, although the princesses do have shuffling. Instead, I think the card draw at Oracle of Delphi could be really impactful. First, the princesses have more actions, so for them, it's a near guaranteed card draw. If it's a minion, they are okay with that result too, because they're typically minion starved. Grannies push actions to the top, so it's likely to be a card draw for them, and that's important because it balances out their draw of minions. Mounties can move themselves off the base to allow it to be a card draw farm, and the team desperately needs card draw. This also seems like the top of base that you could wall off with the tricksters, who could also use the card draw. So while this won't have the strongest impact, it will at least be a subtle one. For Cease and Desist, we have aliens, cowboys, werewolves, and teddy bears. You guessed it, winner squashed. But for a series of crazy different reasons for each faction. Aliens can obviously terraform into it, and it's some of the easiest 4 points you can get, while completely turning around the fate of our previous base. For werewolves, this is an absolutely crazy marking territory base. If you are winning, it will trip on your turn, and it's so easy to give yourself second place because of the base's ability and the howlers. But, in order to stop marking territory from tripping, they have to have more power, which means second place will be yours. It's a fascinating mind game that can even just end in a simple 2-0 point swing where one player stays off entirely. For the Cowboys, they can initiate a duel at the last second and move some of the minions that you gave off the base, while potentially also losing the duel to kick themselves off and settle for second place. And for the Teddy Bears, you can create your own Lovey Bear power swings easily, and Snuggly Bears can be easy 2-power giveaways because of the Ignoble Titan. For What Were We Thinking, we have Polynesian Voyagers, Mythic Greeks, Ghosts, and Ignobles. My pick would be the Ancient Temple. The Ignobles are very good at making it impossible for other players to get the Ancient Temple bonus, while being able to use it themselves before they take their minions back. For Mythic Greeks, this can make their big plays more efficient, which is scary, because it means that they can do more later on. For the Ghosts, the nature of the base to have only one minion there makes it make contact friendly, and as part of your massive drop, you can jump up to 20 using the base's ability and steal their lone minion for solo scoring. Also, single minions on bases fits well with the Polynesian strategy. Unfortunately, the 5-power is contingent on being present at the base, so it's not Sun Tattoo friendly in that direction, but it does help enable a 2-base attack if you send a Sun Tattooed minion into Ancient Temple. For Big in Japan, we have Grimm, Innsmouth, Russian Fairy Tales, and Ninjas. This one was easy, Q point. Unless your minion is indestructible, or you have some other form of rare counter, the ninjas are winning this base, and probably solo. With the Russian Fairy Tales, this is fascinating with how it interacts with Finished. If Q point goes first, Either Finished is destroyed, or all but Finished would be destroyed, trapping Finished there because if he pivots, you lose your presence on the base. But if Finished goes first, you can return him to replay him on another base, then move him on if you need the power because it's a fresh instance. Q Point also really hurts Grim and Innsmouth, who draw power from minion quantity. Innsmouth won't have much power with a lone minion, and Dagon does not add any power from only one minion. Grim has increasing losses from minion removal, as being left with a single Grim minion could be only 2 power, so Q Point can turn around quickly. For that 70s expansion, we have Shapeshifters, Dinosaurs, Samurai, and Killer Plants. Only one of these is really known for play on base actions, so the trucker bases are out, but the 3 of them have standard actions that grant at least 3 power, so Funky Town could be very potent, as that base can break unexpectedly. For Oops You Did It Again, no matter who is in the tournament, the biggest wildcard is going to be Drakkar. Honestly, this base frustrates me, and it turns into a massive free-for-all and changes the game in unexpected ways. So if this base comes out, who knows what will happen, because each player is gaining the other's cards, which can be a powerful steal or a useless one. For International Incident, we have Ancient Egyptians, Tornadoes, Cyborg Apes, and Bear Cavalry. My choice for this was easy, the Doyo. Because of its low breakpoint and its base ability, it's a great base to start a super powerful Flying Monkey combo, which should be solo. Your Flying Monkey then sends itself somewhere else. It's also easy to use the Doyo to keep it clean and send the Flying Monkey there, again because of the low breakpoint. For the Bear Cavalry, this can induce high ground every turn for free, and that has caused at least 1 rage quit against me. For Tornadoes, they can use that movement to their advantage clearly, and they love the linear split, especially since it's easy for them to move back on. For the Ancient Egyptians, this is a very intriguing base. You can play a Pyramid Engineer, bury a minion, and then uncover it with Lost Knowledge to gain at least presence or steal the base if you have other minions there. It's expected that the Pyramid Engineer would get moved off the base anyway. And there aren't that many ways to deal with the card that's buried there. So the Doyo can be very flexible in how it affects the game, but it's positive for all these 4. For the last set, Culture Shock, we have Explorers, Minions of Cthulhu, Itty Critters, Magical Girls, and Steampunks. This base has to be the most intriguing base in a while, Storyteller's Hut. This adds a lot of intensity because it gives extra actions, but can also be an easy 4 points if you aren't careful. For the Minions of Cthulhu, who struggle to break bases, it's a way to have their madness returned, which really hurts them. For the Itty Critters, Tadpor can make this very easy for them to solo, and they enjoy the extra action per turn because of their minions' temporary nature. Steampunks love the extra action, especially with scrap diving. For the Magical Girls, their mass movement is great because they could throw in a bunch of power to an already decreased breakpoint, decrease it further, and remove anyone who might be there. They also possess the 1 card that can counter this in Purge the Demon, which can remove all the counters on the base and restore the breakpoint. As you can see, bases are a wild card, and there are a number to watch out for. Knowing their potential can be a key to victory that many would overlook, and I'm excited to see just how much they screw me over in this tournament. Do you disagree with any of the bases that I mentioned? Let me know in the comments. On Friday, I'm going to talk about 10 cards that need a second glance, as they have intriguing uses in the tournament that are probably overlooked. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, let's shut it down.